A lot happens to get food from the farm to your table. It's called the food cycle, and it has a big impact on our health, our economy, and our environment. In this video, we'll take a look at food waste, which can occur at any stage of the food cycle.
If food is edible, there should be another place for it before the landfill. The landfill should be the very last place.
Food can become waste at many points along its path from farm to fork. At the farm, it might not get picked, or it could get dropped and left on the ground. During the transportation process, it can get damaged and therefore never displayed in a grocery store. If it does make it to a grocery store shelf, people might not buy it. And lastly, in our homes, it might sit in our fridge and never get prepared or eaten.
Well, there are a number of environmental impacts. The most obvious one is if we throw all this food waste into landfills, there's methane emitted from the landfills. That's a fairly direct environmental cost. But there's all the costs in agriculture of producing the food and using water that we wouldn't have had to use had we not wasted that food. We use fuel and energy to produce food and then have it wasted. It just makes no sense. Well, if we don't address the issue, it seems to me we're going to hit a crunch. We're running against real limits to producing more food, and if we just keep wasting it and wasting a lot of the energy that goes into producing food and wasting water, then we could get into a situation where we don't have enough food, and consumers have a responsibility for food security just as much as producers do.
A great deal of food goes to waste simply due to a lack of education. What the general population needs to know that the best before date is not based on safety. It is based on quality.
Food is not necessarily unsafe if it's gone a couple days beyond the best before date. It doesn't mean that it's unsuitable to eat after that date. It just means that it's not quite as good as it might have been had you eaten it before the best before date.
We know that we can save a lot of food from going into a landfill.
People have lost some of the food awareness and food skills that our parents and grandparents used to have. We should have curriculum of food skills right from junior kindergarten all the way through to grade 12. If we look at how we deal with wasted food, the first point is to reduce it. And the second point then would be to divert it for human consumption.
Diverting or redirecting surplus food can help reduce food waste. Surplus food is any food that goes uneaten, such as unused ingredients in restaurants, uneaten items in our fridge at home, or food at grocery stores that nobody buys. Food rescue organizations like Second Harvest work to ensure that good quality surplus food from producers and businesses is redistributed to those who need it most.
So in 1985, there's two women, and they were coming out of a restaurant, and they noticed the amount of surplus food that was getting wasted. And they made a common sense connection. If you look in our warehouse, you will see this is beautiful, pristine food that you would buy at any major retailer. So if you wouldn't feed it to your family, we're not picking it up. All surplus food is recovered and delivered between 24 and 48 hours. We're really focused on produce, dairy, and protein, because we've heard from our agencies that this is the kind of food that's harder to access. Second Harvest connects with food donors in a number of ways. It starts with farmers. We access food from manufacturers, processing centers, retail we get food. We can also access food from restaurants and hotels.
Hundreds of donors now contribute to this food rescue initiative, but there are still many food banks waiting to accept food. Food waste can be reduced by improving our food and cooking skills and balancing our food purchases with our needs, donating or redirecting quality surplus food to others in need, and composting unavoidable food waste. Throwing food into a landfill should almost never happen.
Well, I think if we appreciate food and the value of it, I think we're less likely to waste it.
Food waste is a problem in our society. So what can you do to help stop food waste? Take a bit more time to plan your meals and food purchases. Avoid buying too much food both at the grocery store and at restaurants. Consider taking smaller portions at first and having seconds if needed. Learn to reuse leftovers and bring home leftovers from your restaurant meals. Improve your cooking skills to maximize everything in your fridge and pantry and compost any unavoidable food waste. Lastly, get involved. Look for ways to help reduce food waste in your home, school, or community